So this is a very specific question. Okay, this is what we call as a closed question. But in the RTs, most of the questions are open-ended. Open-ended when you go, there's a lot of room for you to interpret the question. So almost all the RT's questions are open-ended. You might come across one, maybe just one question in the beginning where your name is asked, or you might have listened to the video. So what should I call you? Okay, what should I call you? So maybe Sneha will reply, you can call me Sneha, that kind of thing. All right. So in a majority of questions which are open-ended, I want you to, elaborate your answer. All right. So I want the answer to be around half a minute to 55 seconds. That was your general length. Okay. So let's get started. So a few random questions. Let me ask you, Bibutsa. Bibutsa, here's a question for you. All right. What are the activities you were engaged in during your school days after your classes were over?
I used to play basketball. The activities that I were engaged when I was in school were basketball. I mostly used to play with my friends, and I used to have like mm, extra classes for extra training, extra classes, and training for basketball. Um, Also, I used to dance. I used to dance and a little bit of singing too. Um, that's a good.
So, were those things you did regularly after your classes were over?
Um, um, Only the basketball training. Basketball training.
Okay, all right. So, remember, you have to elaborate on that
Oh
particular.
yeah.
Right. It's not that you cannot add about singing and dancing, but the main question is about your basketball training. Something you did regularly during your school days after your classes were over. All right. So this particular question tests how you use the past continuous tense, the past tense or the past continuous tense. So remember, every question has a purpose. All right. So they're not going to ask you. They means the examiner will never ask you random questions. The examiners will always ask you questions from a prepared questionnaire. All right. अनि एक्जाममा चाहिँ के हुन्छ भने when the examiner asks you questions from a prepared questionnaire, right, you might find that every question they might be noting something. Okay, ठक 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 लेख्दै गरेको हुन्छ एउटा क्वेसन गर्यो आन्सर गर्यो ठक्क लेख्छ एउटा क्वेसन गर्यो आन्सर गर्यो ठक्क लेख्छ अब दुईवटा कुरो चाहिँ गर्नु सक्छ है उनीहरूले usually why examiners note and what do they note is the overall time. Your speaking has to be between 11 to 14 minutes. It cannot go beyond 14 minutes or it should not be less than 11 minutes. So every question उनीहरूले time लेख्दै जान्छ. All right. So they want to give it overall timing of 11 to 14 minutes. Either that, or they could also be writing individual scores, marks. एउटा क्वेसनको लागि score, and then they all add up to the score. All right. ठिक छ? So these are things they're going to do. And when examiners will ask you questions, all right, at first they're going to evaluate you holistically, means taking everything into consideration. But besides taking everything into consideration, there's certain criteria they will look for. All right, we'll discuss about the criteria later, maybe tomorrow. What exactly is needed, means in speaking, what are the criteria? Based on the criteria, उनीहरूले score दिने गर्छ. Right? So, as I said, you will notice the examiners marking on the questionnaire for every question after you've answered. So either they will be noting the time because they have to confine your speaking to between 11 to 14 minutes, or they could actually be giving you scores. Hey. Now, एउटा कुरा भनिहालौँ आरटिएस स्पिकिङको चाहिँ आरटिएस स्पिकिङमा चाहिँ it's like a traditional viva voce, like तिमीहरूको कलेजमा viva, oral exams viva जस्तो, or like a job interview, because you're not the only candidate. There's so many candidates. All right. अब एउटा चाहिँ के हुन्छ भने a little drawback is It's just human nature. When we make comparisons, when humans compare, when you want to buy something, we always make comparisons. Well, when you want to evaluate something, when you want to judge something, we always make comparisons. For instance, you want to buy a new laptop. You're not just going to go into a Samsung showroom and just look at one laptop. Okay, you're going to look at several laptops. Maybe you're looking at a showroom where they have multiple brands. Okay, and then we compare and contrast, and finally we buy one. So that's human nature. And how is that applicable in Alte speaking? Is in Alte speaking, because you're not the only candidate, chances are you're going to be compared to the candidate before and after you, like a job interview. You know? So that's a slight drawback. Only because of this, okay, the examiner could sometimes compare you because they are after all human, but they're trained not to do so, but after all they're all human. So the examiner could, compare you with a candidate before and after you. So the other best thing the examiner does in order to avoid that kind of comparison is to give you score for every question you answer. But it's individual score there for every question only, there'll be lesser comparison. All right. So that's the reason why you find the examiner scribbling on the questionnaire for every question that they ask you. And for every candidate, there's a different questionnaire. All right. So you're a common questionnaire. All right. Praveen. Okay, here's a question for you, Praveen. Talk about a hometown. Describe your hometown.
My hometown is Itari. It is it is in province number 1. My hometown is pretty big. There are total.
Go on.
Itari.
Well, Praveen, you know your hometown better than anyone else.
Yes, sir.
So that's spot on. Yeah, go on. What's taking you so long? Now, when you talk about a hometown, maybe what you could do is you could start with the name of a hometown. As I said, my hometown is Italy, right? Next thing, maybe you could talk about the distance. Okay, if not in kilometers, if not in miles, maybe how many hours it takes from Kathmandu to reach your hometown. The next thing you could talk about is the geographical location. Italy is in the plains in the Tara region, all right, not in the hills. The next thing that logically follows after the geographical location is, of course, the climate. Extremely hot in the summers, okay, mild and sometimes pretty cold for a month, for a week in the winters. Then you talk about people. So, and then you talk about what kind of town is your hometown. Is it more of an industrial town, okay, or like any other town, or is it more of an agricultural town? There's so many things to talk. So, I think you'll be talking for more than 1 minute. All right, so you've got to go logically. So back on the geographical features, the geographical location, climate, people, and you could also talk about some important landmarks of a town, an interesting place to go, important landmarks. So many things to talk. Okay, right, Bijay. Talk about your hometown. Same question, Bijay.
So my hometown is Mauli. It has here different kind of people lives like Brahmin, Chetri, Tamang, Gurung, etc. many people celebrate their own culture festival. Uh, Here, mostly many people used to wear animal husbandry like cow, goats, etc. Mm, uh, as my hometown is so it's in Tarai. It has a flat land with most hot in summer. Mm, uh,
Okay, so how do you end? End your answer. Concluding your sentence one, eh? Like, okay, just a moment, Vijay.
well, this
See,
was the short
just a
information
moment.
about my
Starting an
hometown.
answer is not a problem, okay? Starting an answer is not a problem. You say, all right, talk about a hometown. You've got so many points to talk about a hometown. So starting an answer is not a problem. Then you realize, oh, okay, I'm running out of points. And then finally you realize, that's my last point. What do I do? You know? So last one, when you end your answer, you could simply put in a concluding sentence, something like, well, I believe that's a brief introduction of my hometown. I guess that's a brief introduction of my hometown. When I wrote up introductory sentence. So always remember, it's easy to start an answer. Okay, it's kind of hard to conclude the answer. Okay, so you never conclude your answer by using certain phrases that are extremely short, like that's it. Okay, that's going to be too short, too abrupt. So you're going to put in a concluding sentence. Lengthwise together. Okay, Ganga. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Okay, here's a question for you. We're still with part one, okay? Briefly talk about the daily routine, and you should also say which part of the routine you'd like to change. Let me repeat again. Briefly talk about your daily routine, and you should also say which part of the routine you'd like to change.
Well, talking about my daily routine, I would like I start my day with normal daily routine like सबै कुरा मेन सर कसरी भन्ने कस्तो अप्ठ्यारो लाग्यो मलाई
Daily routine, you got to start from right from the morning till the evening.
Yeah.
Let's come briefly, short my body.
Okay.
What time you wake up, what do you do after that? Then a lunch, breakfast, lunch, then straight away snacks go, and what time you go to bed. You should also say which part of the routine you'd like to change. But it's detail mine.
हुन्छ सर हस् सर
Okay, so try that.
Well, talking about my routine, I normally wake up at 7 o'clock. Then after I go with my daily routine, like brushing my teeth, taking bath, and all. After that, at nearly 7:45 a.m., I take my breakfast. Then after I do get ready for my office, as my office starts from 9 a.m. So I have to be there near at 8:50 a.m. And from the place where I live and my office, the distance is nearly 20 to 25 minutes. So in my daily routine, I do walk for 25 minutes to my office. And in office, I do meet my colleagues and all. We talk for a few minutes, nearly 5 to 10 minutes, along with tea. We drink tea and we talk to each other. Then after, at 9:15 to nearly 11 a.m., I do check all the emails and I do reply if it is based on the urgency. Then at 11 a.m., I do take lunch along with my colleagues. Then again start my work. I normally go with the same routine. At nearly 2:30 p.m. 2:30 p.m. I take my some few. I take my snacks along with tea, and my office hour closes at 5 p.m. I travel back to my room. I get fresh once again. Then I do some walking around my ground, residence ground. Then I go with skipping also for 200 times to keep myself fit. Then afterwards, I normally take my dinner at 7 p.m. Then again, I go with some of the office works. Uh, if there are pending, but this does not go with my daily routine. I do sometimes only if there is any pending work. Then I watch YouTube's. I watch different reality shows, and normally I do spend much of my time watching YouTube's and uh, and I normally sleep at 12 to 1 p.m. normally. Uh, Talking about the habit that I want to change is a sleeping time. As I realize that sleeping late, I realize that wow, we need to sleep at least 7 to 8 hours. But I just sleep at night very late. That's why talking about the habit that I have to change is my sleeping time. Thank you.
Okay, Ganga. Good answer, but that's a very long answer. You took more than 1 minute. All right.
And
Normally the answer
late
should be. Remember, the answer should be very compact. All right. Should be within 1 minute. When you say at least half a minute to around 50 seconds, or max 1 minute, because if you go beyond 1 minute, it's likely that the examiner will tell you to stop, because the examiner has got other questions to ask from the prepared questionnaire. All right. But all in all, it's a good answer. It's just that it's got to be brief. It's got to be shorter. Right? The rest is all fine. Okay. Now, who's up for the next question? Anyone? Anybody? Whom should I be asking questions? Sushant, Sneha, Trishla? Kola should be question. ओके यूनिस त नयाँ भइहाल्यो ठिकै छ युनिसलाई आज छोडिदिएको म होइन युवराजलाई सोधौँ कि कसलाई सोधौँ एनीबडी नो वान खोइ छैन नो volunteer.
Yes, sir.
You know what they say? The heart of the volunteer is the bravest and the
Excuse me, sir. I want to ask. I
Okay,
want
here
to.
comes another Bir Gurkhali. The heart of a volunteer is the strongest and the bravest. Now, take that. Sushant, let me ask you a question. Sushant, tell me more about your likes and dislikes. So, what do you like in people, and what do you dislike in people?
To know about my likes and dislikes, literally, I am little
interviews in certain times can be very, very intimidating. It can make you very nervous. So examiner let you break good light. Okay? The nervousness la break or questions also, then you're back to the reader. So please remember, you get 5 seconds, not more than that. All right, to think and answer. And if you fail to answer any question, you expect you to answer all questions. If you fail to answer any question, the marks will come crashing down. Keep that in mind. The art is some difficult questions within. In art is you will have questions that you'll be able to answer, but somehow, if you fail to answer the question, the marks will come crashing down. Take so? So these are things that you should keep in mind. Okay. Now, बिस्तारै लकडाउन पनि खोलिसक्यो हैन now 6 morning 6 a.m. 6 सम्म त गाडीहरु चलिरहेछ. So we can say like there's hardly any lockdown right now. All right. So which means that very soon our test centers will खोल्छ. Okay, examination centers will खोल्छ. So for students who will be completing the courses, all right, especially अब अरूको त बाँकी छ, प्रवीणको चाहिँ दिन लागेछ. You should check the test dates. British Council को IDP को test dates हेर्दै गर्ने, and writing task 1, writing task 2, checklist लेखेर मलाई पठाउँदै गर्ने. All right. Now let's look at today. We'll quickly look at part 2. All right, part 1 को त्यही नै हो. So part 1 is the easiest stuff. All right. So part 1 मा चाहिँ के हुन्छ भने you'll find 3 or 4 random questions. They're not related, all random questions. And the questions are designed in such a way to evaluate one skill or the other. Maybe how you use the past tense, maybe the future, how you give personal opinion, talking about your daily routines and habits and issues, things like that. So part 1 is easy. There are 11 to 14 minutes of question and answer session, but it's going to be boring, right? So that to read them again, that boring it's broken by part. So in part 2, it's 3 to 4 minutes. It's called the individual long term. The examiner will give you a topic card, so you can call it a topic, a prompt card, or a cue card. Standard paper, there's my question. And then you get 1 minute to prepare. And when you prepare, you could use the sheet of paper and pencil. The examiner will tell you that you can use the paper and pencil. But when you use the paper and pencil, in 1 minute, please don't write a full-length answer. It's not about writing, right? So 1 minute, you just take bullet points, short points. Like, how we prepare for task 1 or task 2. So take those points. And then once 1 minute is over, the examiner will say, all right, please proceed with the answer. And then you start speaking. So the moment you start speaking, you can always consult your notes. And once 1 minute is over, 2 minutes, 1 to 2 minutes, if you go beyond 2 minutes, the examiner will tell you to stop. Now, when the examiner tells you to stop, it's a negative marking. There's no negative marking. Let's say you're going full flow. All right, full on, and then the examiner says, please stop, your time is over. Means there's no negative marking. But the thing is, your answer is incomplete. So what I would suggest is that you should at least, rather than being stopped by the examiner, you should try to give a complete answer. So your answer should be over 1 minute. Ideally, it should be around 1 minute 15 seconds, 1 minute 30 seconds, something like that. All right. Now let's see. Showing an ability to speak for extended periods of time. What is also being tested is how will you organize the answer, how will you express your ideas, and kind of language you use. Okay. Now, I've taken a few random questions from the web, right? So you could Google, when you're preparing for IELTS questions, you can type like IELTS speaking part 1 question, IELTS speaking part 2 question. So what I've typed here is IELTS speaking part 2 questions. Right? Now, let's look at the question. Okay, describe a museum. Just the answer. Your part 2. Describe a museum. All right? Describe when you say you've got to talk about a museum in detail. So that's the main topic. Describe a museum. That's the main topic. So I'm sure everybody can see this. You know? Your museum, let's describe what they say. You find 3 other questions related to it. So how are you going to describe your museum? Right? So how often do you visit museum? First question. Excuse me. Which type of museum is popular in a country? Okay, so that's another question you're going to address. And then, what do you want, or why do you want to visit a museum? When I say, if you look at this, you have to answer all of these 3 questions. All 3 questions are related to question number 1. Okay, so your first answer go to your second go to your third go to. So this is logically, sequentially done. But then what you'll find is, out of these 3 or 4 questions which are related to the main question, your main question organized going to your sub questions though, you'll find that there's one important question where you can elaborate more. Just the yani say, सबसे important question where you can elaborate more is why? Why do you want to visit museum? Or with a how often you're the short by ale. Whatever museum is popular, you're only short by ale. You know? That I was सबसे yani important question. So why do you want to visit a museum? So all the questions do. So that's it. You need to elaborate more. Right? To go to your answer will be less than 1 minute. And if your answer is less than 1 minute, examiner in the speaking test, a बोल्नु त भएन examiner को आवाज त आउनु भएन यसो गर्छ. Go on. Speak more. आफ्नो त आइडिया सकिसक्यो एक्जामिनरले उताबाट यत्तिकै गरिरहेको छ. त्यहाँबाट चाहिँ के हुन्छ when you run out of ideas, examiner speak because your 1 minute is not over. त्यसपछि चाहिँ आन्सरहरू हुन्छ JPT हैन जे पाए त्यही जान्छ. So you don't want a JPT answer. You want an answer that's well organized. ठीक छ? Okay, let's look at another question. एक दुईवटा हेरौँ कुन चाहिँ इन्ट्रेस्टिङ छ question and then we will. Okay. Let's look at topic 3. Topic 3. Okay, here we are, topic 3. So you're going to prepare for this. Describe an area of a country you know and like. So you're going to describe, you're going to talk about in detail any region of your country that you know and that you like. So you're going to start with where it is, where is it, what are special features, where is it, you're the short answer, you know? What are special features? This is where you can elaborate more. That's why you like it. Okay. What do you and other people do in this area? Explain why you like it. But you see, you'll have to answer all of this, okay, one at a time. So when you prepare your answer, annotation, because I don't get it. Okay. So when you prepare your answer, you're going like this, right? So you have to answer the first one. So you start with the first one, and then go into the second one, and then you go into the third one, and so on. Second, third, and so on. Now out of this, this is a question where you can elaborate more. What are special features? And explain why you like it. So these are 2 questions you can elaborate. Out of the shortest. Or do the shorties. Okay, so let's get ready. Take your copy. Bring a copy. Take out a copy.
Sir,
Yes.
can I ask you one question?
Yeah, sure.
Talking about this topic 3, the question is mentioned where it is. अनि हामीलाई चाहिँ एक्जाममा पनि आई मिन के अरे हामी आफैले चाहिँ अब त्यो फर्स्ट पार्टमा चाहिँ वेयर इट इज होइन अनि स्पेसल फिचर्स यसरी चाहिँ आउनुपर्छ सिक्वेन्स चाहिँ यसरी हुनुपर्छ अनि हामी आफैले अजम्सन गर्ने हो कि क्वेसनमै यो मेन्सन गर भनेर आएको हुन्छ.
No, questionमा एक्ज्याक्टली यस्तै हुन्छ नि त. जस्तै यहाँनिर मेन एउटा क्वेसन भयो. Describe an area of a country, होइन? यो एउटा मात्र हुँदैन क्वेसन. यो क्वेसनलाई चाहिँ इलाबोरेट गर्नु तिमीहरूलाई हेल्प गर्नुलाई चाहिँ यसरी लेखेको हुन्छ. यसरी लेखेको छ भने चाहिँ आफूलाई सजिलो पर्यो अर्गनाइज गर्नु अनि आन्सर गर्दाखेरि अब त्यहाँ लेख्दै वेयर इज इट अब इन ए कन्ट्री भने चाहिँ विच वेयर इज इट है यु हेभ टु राइट द्याट सेन्ट्रल पार्ट अफ माई कन्ट्री इन नेपाल ओके मुस्ताङ मनाङ एनी एरिया यु क्यान टक अबाउट Rara, Chitwan and so on your special features के हो you're going to write गर्दाखेरि you'll have to go through it by sequentially यसरी नै अर्गनाइज गरेको
ए हुन्छ
all questions are like this. भनेपछि एउटा मात्र हुँदैन क्वेसन यस्तो पार्टको हुन्छ है सो इट हेल्प्स यु टु अर्गनाइज बट वाट यु निड टु अन्डरस्ट्यान्ड इज बिकज यु हेभ टु स्पिक फर मोर देन 1 मिनट राइट एक दुईवटा क्वेसनमा चाहिँ यु क्यान इलाबोरेट मोर जस्तै यहाँ द सेकेन्ड एन्ड द फोर्थ क्वेसन ओके लेट्स गेट स्टार्टेड टेक आउट अ कपी आई एम गिभिङ 1 minute 1 minute to go prepare Okay, that's a 1 minute. So you see in the examination, 1 minute just goes by. 1 minute short huntai. So 1 minute might say it's not possible to write down full length answer. So you just take quick points. So for question number 2, okay, part 2 of the speaking, you should practice under time conditions. Take up a question. You can find all of these questions on the net. Just type RT speaking part 2 question. All right, give yourself 1 minute, take down points. You should get used to it. Okay, that was more than 1 minute.
Sir, in the exam, are the questions similar to this?
Yes, yes. The examination questions are very similar to this. Very, very similar. This is what you'll find in part 2. All right. So the RTS examiners, you know, their purpose is to support you so that you can speak and so that they could evaluate you. The purpose is not to terrify you or make you nervous. All right, so all RTS examiners, they are nice, they're polite, and they're just doing the job. They just want to evaluate you. All right, and the questions will be very similar to this. Okay, I think we should start. Trishla, can you try this? You can consult the notes also. If you want to check your notes. Okay, let's go, Trishla. I'm going to time you. Okay.
I really like Chitwan of my country. It is located in the Thara region of Nepal. It is also named in the famous places you can visit for the tourists. I've also once visited when I was in grade 6, I think. Although it lies in very hot climate, there are different breeds of animals, and it is a must place to visit. There are also very good lodging and peaceful surrounding with different plants you can look up to. Also, there are very kind people, and you can also visit the National Park of Chitwan. Mostly, you can also go for jeep riding and elephant riding. I think I prefer elephant riding more than jeep riding. I like Chitwan because I think if you can visit there in your vacations and have a very memorable moment right there. You can also click many pictures because you will come across different animals like dinosaurs and elephants. I also went through lake where I saw crocodiles and different aquatic based animals. Yeah, it is a must to visit. Thank you.
Okay, Trishla, that's a good answer. That's 1.5 minutes actually. That's 1.5 minutes. Okay, that's 1.5 minutes, and you've talked about everything. Where it is, where it's already the you know, you start right away with Chitwan, but where's Chitwan? You said that, okay? In the plains of central Nepal, something like that. But then the other questions, like special features, yes, you described it. And what do you and other people do in that area? You mentioned that and explain why you like it. You explained it also. So all in all, that's a very good answer. All right. And you took 1.5 minutes. So what I'm trying to say is, यो जुन चाहिँ छ नि पार्ट टू क्वेसनमा चाहिँ अब हामीलाई आइडिया छैन हामी बोल्दाखेरि कति लामो हुन्छ या कति सर्ट हुन्छ आन्सर हामीलाई आइडिया छैन है यही क्वेसन रिलेटेडमा चाहिँ टेल यु समथिङ मान्छेहरूको एउटा फियर हुन्छ नि सबसे ठुलो फियर माने प्रोफेसनल फियर आफ्नो एउटा पर्सनल फियर त छँदैछ बिसाइड्स इट प्रोफेसनली जबमा चाहिँ सबसे ठुलो फियर भनेको के थाहा छ for most people, public speaking. Public speaking. You dread it, I dread it, everybody dreads it. There are only few people, and I think those are basically politicians who love to keep on speaking. They love the sound of their own voice. You know, but besides the politicians, most of us we fear public speaking. And you might have noticed about Katura situation. It might have happened at school with you, with your friends. You know, the friend is called on stage, okay? And he boleko is a friend, and you're all like cringing, all right? Cringe-worthy performance, was it? You say, oh my God, stop it. You're biting a nail. Like, it's like cringe-worthy. It's like you just want to vanish, you just want to hide. Right? It happens. Like, it might have happened to you. Actually, personally, in my case, it's happened to me so many times, all right? So those are very dreadful moments. अब के हुन्छ भने public speaking मा one thing we are blank. एउटा त्यो fearले गर्दाखेरि we are terrified. Alright, so we cannot think. अब बोल्नु पर्यो बोल्दाखेरि blah 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 जे पाते बोल्दाखेरि हाम्रो टाइमसँग फिक्स भएन. So कसैले चाहिँ एकदम short बोल्छ, कतिले चाहिँ बोलेको गर्छ. So public speaking, one of the most important thing is timing. So good speakers, good orators, they know यति बोल्यो भने चाहिँ ठिक्कै हुन्छ. All right, they always have a hand on the pulse of the public. Publicly interesting भइरहेछ कि छैन भनेर हैन. So your question मा चाहिँ it's like public speaking, not exactly, but what I'm trying to say is यहाँ चाहिँ nobody is aware about length. Fortunately, in case of Trishla, overall length 1.5 minutes, first attempt मा एकदम राम्रो भयो है. So the rest you are not aware. So you should practice very important, right? So when you're practicing at home, take up any question like this, okay? Time yourself 1 minute of preparation, and then give yourself 2 minutes, and then start speaking. Right? So everything must be timed. Time गऱ्यो भने चाहिँ सजिलो पर्छ आफूलाई. So here the practice is to time you, okay? To let you know lengthwise अब कति time हुन्छ. Hey, okay. Next, Yuvraj. Okay, it's your turn. Go on. Please start with the answer. Okay. So that was 1 minute 15 seconds. ठीक है सर ओभरअल देन सो एज यु क्यान सी धेरै लामो पनि त बोल्नु पर्दैन होइन अनि एक्जाममा चाहिँ के हुन्छ भने यो मात्रै एउटा क्वेसन हो भने गाह्रो पर्थ्यो त यो क्वेसनसँग रिलेटेड हुन्छ जहिले पनि इट्स अलवेज लाइक दिस एटलिस्ट 4वटा नभए पनि 3वटा जस्तो हुन्छ ओके दे आर रिलेटेड एटलिस्ट 3 or 4 एन्ड यसलाई सिक्वेन्सियली एउटाबाट अर्को 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 गर्दै पोइन्ट्सहरू लेख्दै गयो भने एन्ड आई अलरेडी टोल्ड यु युल अलवेज हेभ 1 question or 2 questions where you can elaborate. So you do the question that elaborate for him, you can utilize more than 1 minute. All right. Okay, Yuvraj, take it, sir. Sneha, would you like to try this question? Go on, try this. Part 2 question.
Well, talking about the area that I like the most in my country is Lumini. Lumini is a site that lies in Rupandei district, and it lies in province, Lumini province. And monasteries, ancient bathing pond, Ashoka pillar, and Bodhi tree. Those are the special features of that place.
Okay. Go on, consult the notes. You can always consult the notes. Right, Sneha, go on. Sneha, where are you? What, you've been abducted by aliens? These are the UFO को एकदम सनसनी छन् त हैन US गभर्नमेन्टले मेन्टेन बनिरहेको छ UFO को aliens. Sneha, have you truly been abducted by aliens? I can't see you here. Sneha? Can't find you here. Maybe batti gala. Well, what a time. What a time. So anyway, that's about part 2 questions. We will try more of this part 2 questions tomorrow. All right. Now, what you can also do is you will go to, if you remember, Cambridge Official, the one I displayed yesterday. Okay, Cambridge Official Guide, RTS listening, videos whenever you watch video 1, video 2, video 3, keep on watching those videos. Okay, that should give you a general idea about speaking. And besides it, there are hundreds of other videos on YouTube. But of course, rather than wasting your time on other videos, okay, you want to look at a video that is the official video, that comes from the official material. So that's it, Cambridge Official Guide. Ganga?
Sir. Yes,
Ganga,
sir.
you were not here yesterday, so you'll go to YouTube, all right, and you will type Cambridge Official Guide. Cambridge Official Guide. त्यो जुन चाहिँ मैले पठाएको थिएँ नि Cambridge Official Guide भन्ने
Yes, sir.
त्यो युट्युबमा भिडियोजहरु छ युट्युबमा भिडियो छ स्पिकिङको so you type Cambridge Official Guide RT speaking videos, all right, so त्यो
Yes, sir.
official guide को चाहिँ भिडियोजहरु छ so that's the best video to watch. Okay, now before we leave, it's not possible to ask all of the people questions. Maybe we could try more of these questions tomorrow. Take some volume. Today is Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday time. So, any questions? Anything? Okay, sir. Ganga, Bibitsa, Sushant, Praveen. तिमीहरुको केही क्वेशन्स हरु छ सोध्नु
सर जस्तो यो एडभर्बहरु हुन्छ नि सर जस्तो इभेन्चुअली अनेस्टली एब्सोल्युटली यस्तो कि बिबिसमा युज गर्दाखेरि झन् अलिकति राम्रो हुन्छ कि के हुन्छ सर
हैन वर्ड्सहरु अब कस्तो हुन्छ भने तिमीहरुको स्पिकिङको लागि चाहिँ चेक इट आउट है देयर सेभरल क्राइटेरिया फर स्पिकिङ इट्स नट जस्ट अबाउट फ्लुएन्सी इट्स हाउ यु अर्गनाइज योर आन्सर द काइन्ड अफ वर्ड्स यु युज होइन अब भोक्याबुलरी भन्ने कुरो त एकदमै इम्पोर्टेन्ट हो जस्तै हामीले राइटिङमा हामीले भोक्याबुलरी टेस्ट गर्छ लेक्सिकल रिसोर्स अब यहाँ पनि भोक्याबुलरी त टेस्ट गरिहाल्छ सो इट्स गुड टु युज दोज वर्ड्स राइट तर प्रब्लम चाहिँ के हुन्छ भने वर्ड्सहरू युज गर्दा you can always check just say you could always Google about RT speaking vocabulary with it. So if you type RT speaking vocabulary and then Google go don't type by the way just speak from now on okay you're not going to type Google just speak to Google must understand you if Google doesn't understand you your speaking or pronunciation is not right and a lot of time Google doesn't understand us so it all depends on default के राखेको छ अब English चाहिँ default English British English American English राखेको छ कि अरू English राखेको छ but depending on it okay from now on search गर्दा Google search गर्दा चाहिँ just speak alright अनि त्यो एउटा भयो so what I'm trying to say is to answer Ganga's question regarding vocabulary if you were to speak to Google about let's say vocabulary in speaking okay there are lots of lists you can always check so those who are interested you can always check the problem चाहिँ के हुन्छ भने स्पिकिङमा when you think about those words अब स्पिकिङ भनेको हाम्रो जति जे बोल्छ नि अहिलेसम्म इङ्ग्लिस बोल्छ त्यो द्याट्स अ सम टोटल अफ अहिलेसम्म हामीले इङ्ग्लिस कति सिकेको छौँ होइन राइट फ्रम नर्सरी स्कुल टिल टुडे हामीले इङ्ग्लिस कति सिकेको छौँ अनि अब एक दुई दिन कति दिनमा चाहिँ अब लाइक चाहिँ एक महिना पछाडि एक्जाम दिँदाखेरि त्यसमा हामीले वर्ड इन्क्लुड गऱ्यौँ त्यो वर्ड इन्क्लुड गर्दा हामीले कतिको एब्जर्भ गर्नु सक्यो त्यो वर्ड डिपेन्ड अन इट फर लट अफ स्टुडेन्ट्स ओके त्यो एब्जर्भ गर्नु सक्दैन र स्पिकिङमा चाहिँ के हुन्छ भने त्यो जुन चाहिँ सिकेको वर्ड्सहरू छ नि दे लाइक टु युज इट र अननेसेसरली सेन्टेन्सहरू क्रिएट गर्छ जस्ट टु युज दोज वर्ड्स सो अननेसेसरली सेन्टेन्स त्यो वर्ड्स युज गर्नुलाई क्रिएट गर्दाखेरि स्पिकिङ या राइटिङ डजन्ट टर्न आउट राइट र स्पिकिङ सुड बी मोर नेचुरल सो इट्स गुड टु नो द वर्ड्स द प्रब्लम चाहिँ त्यही हुन्छ एज आई सेड होइन if you can remember it all depends on your abilities how many words you can remember how often can you use it more naturally भन्ने कुरा हुन्छ फेरि नत्र भने त्यो नेचुरल युज भएन भने कहिले काहीँको उहिलेको नेपाली मुभीमा जबरजस्ती अङ्ग्रेजी बोलेको जस्तो सुन्छ फेरि it wouldn't sound natural it wouldn't sound right है गङ्गा so those are also some of the drawbacks part 3 मा चाहिँ गएर किनभने part 3 भनेको अलिकति it's got to your answer has got to be more polished in part 3 we are surely going to discuss some words all right Ganga some words to indicate or to convey our attitude and our certainty or uncertainty आउँछ vocabulary आउँछ यो part 3 मा आउँछ है त any other question Yunesh do you have any questions के छ युनेसको
ओके थ्याङ्क यू
छैन ओके आज फर्स्ट डे हो या तिमीले यो जस्ट इभ्यालुएटिङ दिस ओके अनि युवराज प्रवीण सुशान्तको एनी क्वेसन ओके विभूता त्रिशला के छ क्वेसन्सहरू
No, sir.
China है China विभूता China
China, sir.
let me tell you this stupid joke मैले हिजो यस्तो पनि भनेको थिएँ सो भूकम्पपछि चाहिँ this टिबेटन मान्छे अरे भोटे मान्छे घर खोज्दै गएछ भूकम्पमा अब घर है धेरै भत्केको थियो अनि भोटे मान्छेले अब घर खोज्दै जाँदाखेरि चाहिँ घरपेटीलाई के भन्थ्यो गोर खाली छ घर खाली छ त होइन घर खाली छ कोठा खाली छ होइन गोर खाली छ